Game started.
Gilbert 007 from Chile. Let's see, I think D4. Chile, yeah. Okay, a Dutch defense. I don't have a great line against the Dutch. I think I play what is a main line, just going with the fianchetto and the knight to f3. Maybe bishop to g5 is useful. He's playing these moves quickly like it's a standard setup. Bishop to g5. If he kicks it, do I trade off this knight? And then set up some kind of dark squared pawn structure. Trade my bishop for the knight. I'll wait for him to ask, like with H. Maybe he'll play H6 here. Yeah, so he's going for a light squared pawn structure. And let's go ahead and castle here. I want to play C4 at some point to just trade off one of these pawns. I could play it here. If he takes, now if he takes, he can actually hold on to it. Let's think about it. I can play my knight to D2 first and then pawn there. But I kind of wanted to go, no, this makes sense. This knight maybe will go to E5 and this knight will come to F3. And I can bring a rook over here to the C file and play C4 if he lets me. He might try to stop it with B5. Sometimes they do that kind of thing. Okay, so that hits the bishop. But, well, I wanted to trade that dark squared bishop off anyway. That was my plan. And now I get to trade it for a bishop instead of a knight. That's probably okay. And now I can play C4 like I wanted to. Just to make sure there's a one pawn break in the position. At least, so something I can play to open things up a little bit. And maybe I'll have some activity on the C file. Oh, he goes for E5. That's interesting. Well, let's see if I take here first. I could take back with the knight. That would be okay. And if he takes back with the pawn, then I can think about what to do with this pawn. But yeah, my intention is to just take everything here and leave him with this isolated queen pawn here, which is on a light square, so it impedes his light squared bishop. So it has a couple of advantages from my point of view. Aha, he's not taking back that pawn, so he's leaving me with an extra pawn too, right? 3 against 4, these are matched, and there's 2 on 2, yeah. I have 1 extra pawn. So, but how do I move my pieces forward here? This knight could come to... okay, first let's stop his knight from coming to C4 or A4. And then next I'll think about playing my knight to D4 and the other knight to F3. It's a nice evolution of those knights. Blockading this pawn. I don't care if he wins this pawn back, although he's not actually threatening to win that pawn at the moment. And here. So that now my queen can move. I have some squares for my queen. And let's just make sure there's no tactics with his knight hopping in here. Knight to C3, knight D2. When my queen comes up to D3, his knight can go to C5 with the tempo on the queen. So I'll have to consider that. Well, we went into C3 right away. Now he is hitting this pawn. That's true. Okay, so if I go queen D3 and he takes the pawn and I attack it with the rook, he probably has to move the knight away. And then I can take his a-pawn. So it's not a huge threat. taking of the pawn. It's important not to overreact to your opponent's seeming threats. So now, if he doesn't take, I can play rook c2 and the other rook over to c1 and maybe get some pressure on the c file here. And hopefully this knight is not going anywhere, so it can just sit there. And it has knight e2 check all the time. I got to be careful. Decided to grab the pawn. Okay, so I am going to chase that knight back where it came. It'll go to b4 with a tempo on the queen. That's the idea. So if I play queen to b5, it'll hit the knight. Where does the knight go from there? Oh, the knight's defended, so he doesn't have to react. But it puts some pressure on this knight, so it prevents him from immediately pushing this pawn forward to a6, because then I can take his knight. Yeah, I don't have to overreact to this either, because I am a pawn up already, so he just got his pawn back. But I think it would be good for me if I could get that a-pawn somehow. And this queen move hits both knights, keeps his queen tied up, keeps the pawn tied up defending the knight. So even though it's not making a threat, it's kind of tying him up a little bit. Now he can hit me with his rook. I didn't notice that. Okay, so that was a bad move then. Let's drop back. Yeah, that was pretty bad. Now we can double rooks, yeah, and I can't prevent the invasion on the on the c file. Well, I guess I can. I'll go ahead and bring a rook to c1 with the support of the queen. That's what the queen is doing here. His knight could come in here. I would probably try and pin it. Yeah, so if I take, his rook takes back and chases my queen away, so I can't really take the knight. He can take my knight, I can take back with the knight. So let's put the rook here. And now I've got 3 attackers on it and only 2 defenders. So rook takes, knight takes, rook takes, queen takes is threatened, so that would work out in my favor. And if knight takes, he still can't invade to c2, and maybe he'll just trade everything out. And we'll get, I don't know what kind of position that'll be. I'll have a weak pawn here and a weak pawn here, and the material's even. He'll have this pawn here on d5, well supported by his bishop, so black could well be better at this point. But he didn't defend his knight. So you have some tactical idea. Maybe he's just trying to round up a pawn and didn't notice this was hanging. But rook takes, knight takes. Didn't that just win a piece? Yes, he can bring the queen in, but the knight can go back. And that hits a loose bishop. So yeah, I think he miscalculated that. And the queen invasion just leads to trades anyway. So it's nothing really to be afraid of. So I'm not afraid of taking his bishop
Black
here.
resigns.
Okay, well, a sudden end to that interesting game. So I'll upload this and do a postmortem. See you guys later. Bye.